company actually increases job performance by 56%.
It's like a lot of times all of that 3D data is there. They've done the work, they've done the engineering, they've done the slopes, they've done all the 3D polylines are already in their file. There's just a huge disconnect between what they do and the builders right now.
113,000 available unfilled construction jobs in this country, 11 million available unfilled jobs overall in this country.
One of the great culture things I see in construction is people just get it done. At the end of the day, we've built 100% of the building. There's no 80-20 rule.
Think of the technology that has been brought into existence in the last 60 years, and you think of the productivity gains that have, say, occurred in agriculture, which is up 1,750%, or manufacturing, which is up 400%, and construction is flat to negative.
This was always supposed to just be a 6-episode mini-series, Stacy. I want to remind you of that.
Good morning. It is Morning Huddle time. Chad Prinky here, as always, with my guest host, co-host, producer, and Revenge of the Cough coming back to get you, Stacy.
Coming back again. I know. It's been a rough 2 months for me. I've been pretty sick.
Oh, man. No fun to have that over the summer either.
No, it's not. And it's making me nervous for fall and winter when, you normally get sick. So how's this year going to go?
Maybe you reverse it this time. Maybe you flip it on its head. I keep this. Here's a little insane look at my brain. I keep this calendar in my basement, which is where I exercise in the morning, and I keep it there with so I can mark off what I'm doing, right? And I can mark off how many days I've exercised. It's just kind of like a habit to make sure that I always meet my goals, right? Okay, kind of nerdy, but it's what I do. This year, I added a category for how many days I'm sick.
You were sick a lot this year too.
Yeah, and so, but I can. Oh man, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. Can I unsay this to jinx my story first? But I haven't had a sick day. I flipped back through. I was like, I've been feeling really good. I haven't had a sick day since like April. Which is crazy. Not a single day where I felt, that wasn't self-inflicted after too much celebration, if you know what I'm saying. Those days have happened. I think it's in the single digits, but they've existed.
Was the exercise routine before April too?
Oh yeah. So I've been, get this, I've been doing 20 workouts a month. So the way I classify a workout is it's got to be focused 20 minutes or more. Of real sort of exercise. I've done 20 workouts a month at minimum for the past 5 years. I started doing it, put a calendar in my basement and just kind of ticking it off. And, it's one of those things that like every year I ask, I consider like, should I up it to 25 or something? You know what, dude, it's just good enough. That's like, it's enough. Yeah.
And you've been really consistent with it. You made it a habit. So that's awesome.
It's really easy for me to keep up on now. If I could only do that with other things in my life, new habits, breaking old bad ones, starting new ones. We'll just have to do a show on habits. It won't be construction related, but it'll be for my and your benefit.
All right.
All right, cool. I'm going to bring on our guest today, who is a 2-time guest to the Morning Huddle. We have got Oscar Garcia. Oscar, so good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Stacy, Chad. Thank you so much for having me again. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for coming back. We're excited to hear about all these new updates.
So to like refresh everybody, we had Oscar on in season 1, and we were talking about the unique needs of the Latin American workforce in construction. And it was a really interesting conversation that spanned all kinds of topics. And one of the key topics that we kind of touched on was safety and creating better safety environments for the Latin American workforce. And what Oscar's been working on since we had him on the show back in like 2021, Stacy, if you can freaking imagine that. But back in 21, when we had Oscar on, lot's changed, and the sort of the artificial intelligence landscape has made an impact in his world, and he's got some updates on that front. So looking forward to that conversation. Hopefully, a vibrant discussion in the LinkedIn chat for those of you who are joining us live. And Stacy, to spare you the fear of having a coughing attack, I will mute you and put you in the background, and you can jump back on here with 5 or 10 minutes left.
All right, thank you.
See you, Stace.
See ya.
All right, so let's talk about the current status. Just give us a brief update. Talk about your technology. Talk about what you've been doing with it and the impact of AI. Just couple of minute primer for the audience.
Absolutely. Some of the new features that we have that we didn't have back in 2021, we have something that we call the Need to Say chat. And it's this platform in the app that American and Hispanic construction workers use to communicate with no language barriers. We also have another feature where construction workers can ask any questions related to safety. That's also a new feature. And the last feature that we have, it's more for safety managers, that whenever they see someone who's not doing something correctly at the work site, or after a toolbox talk or something like that, they can just assign a video to the entire crew or just one single worker, and then they can just track that on the dashboard and see if it's in progress, see if they have completed that. So this is in addition to the previous features that we had, where American or Hispanic workers could learn English or Spanish for the construction industry.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay. So you have an app. The app is called Need to Say, need the number 2 say, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And it's this specially designed application to help English speaking workers and Spanish speaking workers to have no language barrier when it comes to everything happening on the job site. That's the kind of vision. Is that right?
That's it, exactly. So in the Need to Say app, I'm from Mexico, and let's say I don't speak any English, right? And we are working together at the same construction site, and it's hard for me to communicate with you. And so the only thing that I do is I rely on the only bilingual person. It's just, if something happens, I'm just gonna have to wait for this person to show up, so that they can communicate whatever I need to say to you. And so the Need to Say app solves this problem, because now I can communicate directly with you. So basically, I open the Need to Say app, there's a chat, and I can just send you a message, and you get the message in your native language.
Yep.
But what we have done with the Need to Say app is that when it comes to the translation of that message, we developed our own AI system. For instance, just a few weeks ago, someone was trying to send out a message with the word flagger guard, and in the Google Translate or any other translators are up there, there's no translation for that in Spanish.
Yep.
And there's just one example, right? But there's no translation. So
because it's such a specific language, or
exactly,
a term that's niche to the construction industry.
Exactly.
It's not hitting a Google Translate. Where that makes total sense.
Yeah. Exactly. And this is just a basic term. Now, if you add to that something that is like regional, like it's a phrase or word that is just used in the South or used in the North, things like that, it gets more complicated. And so what we've done with the system is that we're teaching all of those, different, English or Spanish varieties that we have, because someone could be from Mexico or from Central America, South America, and they have a different way to call things,
Sure.
And so we have to make sure that we're using the system that is teaching itself to provide just better translations. And then we went a step further with audio translation, because we know that construction workers are busy, right? So we wanted to add this feature where I could just send you an audio and you get the audio translated, right? And we can all move on. You don't have to wait for that bilingual person. And then when you see the message, like for instance, I as an English learner, I see the English message and I see the Spanish message. So that helps me to keep learning the language. It's not just like, oh, I'm just going to, forget about my dream of learning Spanish for the construction industry, or English for the construction industry. No, you can still learn by being able to see both messages at the same time. And so that also helps. That's something that construction workers like, because they can see both messages and then they keep learning it themselves.
So I have a kind of, this is great, and I love to hear the advancement of your technology, and I'm sure wider and broader adoption of your technology over the past couple of years. Here's a question that popped into my mind as you're talking. Most general contractors require an English speaking foreman, manager of some sort, to be
Yeah.
on site from the trade contractor. Have you found that that has changed at all with the application of this technology? Is that has it actually kind of eliminated the language barrier to the extent that I no longer, if I'm a concrete contractor, I no longer have to have an English speaking person on the job site?
I will be able to answer that question in a year from now, Chad, because we just launched this app. We have several companies right now, general contractors, that are going to deploy the app in the next few weeks. We tested our beta in June, and right now Apple and Android, Google, they just released our new version. So we have had several reiterations in the app, but your question kind of sparks or reminded me of something else. Here in California, I did not know this, but here in California, there, as you know, many uh, foremen that are the children of immigrants, right?
Sure.
So someone from Mexico, right? And so what happens is that, of course, they speak English. The problem is they're Spanish. They do speak Spanish, but they speak a Spanish that is limited
Right.
to the construction
I
industry,
get it.
that is limited. And so it's actually doing the opposite for them, because they want to communicate with the workforce. And even if they do speak Spanish, but this is what we call, in the English as a second language world, or linguistics,
Yeah.
we call this the like when you speak English or Spanish at the playground, right? Someone says, "Hey, are you having a good time? Yes or no?" Right? Those are basic questions that you know. But then when you ask questions, more specific, technical questions about a certain aspect of, let's say, in construction, right? You ask something about scaffolds, you ask something about OSHA. That's technical. They didn't learn this when they were children. They didn't learn this at school because it was just English only, right? So for them, it's really hard for them to say, "Oh, I want to say this word, but I actually don't know how to say it. I just know the basic, the basics in Spanish." So it's actually the opposite for them. So it's really interesting. It was something that I never thought that, a lot of these people that I thought that they were fully bilingual, well, it turns out that they're not fully bilingual. They still need to use the app.
Yep. That makes sense. Yeah, I didn't ever I did not think about the language barrier with the foreman to the field when that person is of Latin American descent. That's and of course California is a very different. Didn't you correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you also spend time in the construction industry in Alabama?
Absolutely. We started in Birmingham, Alabama, and actually several of the companies who are going to go, with uh, do the pilots. Will do in Birmingham. There's what we have a really strong network in Alabama. They have been super supportive of this, and so we're really looking forward to this. And in Alabama, you have just a different way when it comes to communication. It's different than California, different needs. When we moved to California, we thought, California, I'm sure the majority of the people are bilinguals. They're not gonna need something like this. I was wrong. And I was in San Diego the other day, and the needs for something like this is just huge. I never thought about this. And again, it all goes back to that, right? They do know how to say what's your name in Spanish, but then when it comes to more technical things, it's like I don't know how to say that. I don't know how to ask that. So it's different.
Yeah. And so I want to. This is not a prepared line of conversation, Oscar. You have the right to tell me I don't want to talk about this, but
Okay, yeah.
no,
Let me
no.
go ahead.
Something that strikes me as I work with companies all over the country, and I think have my exposure is very limited when it comes to the field. My field exposure is maybe 5% or less of the time that I spend with a company. I'm almost always focused on project management, estimating, and the executive suites,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Um, in the you're probably the exact opposite. You probably have a lot of exposure to the field. Yeah,
Yes.
that's you. How would you describe the difference? What do you see that's most different between the way the construction labor force is set up in the Deep South, for example, as compared to California? What do you see as the biggest difference structurally? Because I have some theories, but I wonder what it's like. You know what? I'll help you because it's a pretty broad question. I'll tell you why I ask. One of the things that I perceive, and it could be wrong, but what I perceive is that in on the West Coast and as well on the East Coast in the DC market, I can speak of very intimately. The labor force, okay, is pretty much in two camps. There's the employed, the W-2 labor force that's works for the subcontractors, and the subcontractors are pretty large, sophisticated businesses that have the ability to do framing or drywall or fill in the blank, right? And they have that labor force as employees, and then the other is a subcontracted labor force that again gets hired by the framing contractor that goes to a subcontracted labor force that really is in my view almost exclusively undocumented labor.
Yes.
That a labor broker is willing to gamble and
Yes.
hire these people. You know what I mean? And say,
Yes.
whoops, okay, we got pop, and we'll open it. And it happens all the time
Yes.
on the East Coast and West Coast. My perception is that in the Deep South, that the general contractor plays almost a little bit more direct line right to that labor pool. That there isn't as much of a separation between so on the East Coast. The general contractor hires the subcontractor hires the labor broker, right? My perception is that in Alabama, the general contractor may just hire the labor broker direct and kind of manage framing or manage drywall internally. Is that wrong? How do you see it play out?
I see it play out as it's pretty similar to the east or here on the west coast,
Okay.
where the general contractor hires the majority of their workers, in this case Hispanic workers, through subcontractors. That's typically how it works. And for us, and when I started this chat, I did not know that I was coming up with a technology. I was coming up with something that general contractors, subcontractors, you name it, from big to small construction companies, they have never tried something like this. The all of the technology that has been developed has been for either the safety manager, the foreman, and above.
Yep.
It has never,
Yeah,
not
we haven't put technology in the hands of the
in,
workers. I
in the
totally.
hands of the worker. No, in the
Yep.
hands of the worker, they have never done anything for the actual tray or field worker, and this is the first time. And we really had a hard time to figure out, okay, how are we going to deploy this? Because companies, their general contractors that have said to us, we don't care if they don't work directly for us, meaning if they work through subcontractors, we want to give them access to the app because we want them to be safer, we want them to be more productive, all these different things. And so we want to give them access. But one of the challenges is that they don't have any info about these workers. I mean, they don't have names, contact
Right.
information, and things
That's
like that.
right.
And it's like,
That's right.
how are we going to do that, right? And so we have to figure out a way where they can do this in a way that it's easy. They don't have to remember a password. They don't have to remember their email address or things like that.
Right.
The good thing, you know what they say about technology, right? Whenever there's something new out there, the biggest question is the timing. Is this the right time to have this, right? And so right now it is the right time because the majority of Hispanic workers, they have a smartphone. They know how to use a smartphone. They know how to download apps.
Yep.
They know how to
Yep.
do all the navigate all these different things. So that's a good thing. Here in California, it's no different. So I guess the children of immigrant, they are the ones who have the W-2, full-time workers and things like that. But when it comes to the rest of the immigrants, it's just they work through subcontractors. Something that was kind of, I kind of knew this, but I did not know the exact number. So I had a conversation with ABC National, and they said to me, Oscar, there's in the country, there's 72% of the construction workforce are Hispanics,
Yep.
of the trade worker. Again, like, no matter where you are, I mean, you could be here in LA, you could be in New York, in Birmingham, Alabama, and the majority of the people you're going to see at the job site, it's going to be Hispanic workers, right? And so for us, it's been a big challenge. And also for us, one of the biggest challenges is for companies to give themselves an opportunity and try something like this. It's like, do something for your trade worker, for your field worker for the first time. Learn more about them, learn about their needs, learn about what they have to say. And at the end of the day, you're going to be more profitable, you're going to be more productive, you're going to be safer. Your workers are going to be safer because they will be able to communicate.
Yeah, we've got the labor force in the United States has been made up of largely immigrants for our entire history.
Yeah.
And those immigrants, much as the Latin American workforce today, in certain states has already happened, and in other states is a decade or two away, become full-fledged Americans. It's just the way they do. They just become, and they have closer ties to their American roots than they do to their ancestral roots, right? That come from the original first generation immigrants that came here. I think I agree with you completely that we're in a time today where the timing is right. People do have the ability to provide the workforce with tools to keep them safer, more productive, and more included. And I sincerely hope that that the next year goes extremely well for your platform, and that we see it go national. I have a question before I pull Stacy back on here, and that is, if somebody wanted to learn more about Need to Say, and if they wanted to engage with you in a conversation about how to pull this into their organization, how would they do that?
Yeah, they can just go to our website, need number 2 say.com, and they can just either send us an email, call us. There are different ways on how they can touch base with us, and we'll give them, a free trial for them to test the app and see all the different features of the app and learn more about the app, and how, for the first time, we are given Hispanic construction workers the opportunity to learn more about OSHA, to communicate directly with their American colleagues, to be able to learn English for the construction industry. This is huge for them, because they, like you said, they're in this country. They really want to learn more about, not just about the language, but about the culture. There is this sense of belonging. They want to belong. It's not just like, all right, I'm here, I work, and in the construction industry. We have to remember that they have children. Their children were born here, and so they all want to be part of this amazing country, right? And so they're here. They work crazy hours. They're doing all this work. And so at the end of the day, whenever you talk to these people, they're like, I'm doing my best so that my children can go to college later, can get an education. I love what I do. Construction is my passion. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And for a lot of them, they wish they could learn more about the construction industry and grow more in the construction industry. So why not, with all this, you hear all this news about the workforce, that there aren't enough workers, and there's a shortage, and all these different things. There are all these people that are trying their best at the construction industry.
Yeah. It's and I've seen it. I'm sure you have too, where there are people who develop a conversational capability in English, if not full fluency. It's a ticket to advancement. It just is.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I would say the opposite is also true for field management that is native English speakers who develop conversational capability in Spanish. That's a ticket to advancement as well. There's a lot of opportunity both directions here, and I hope we see people continuing to meet each other halfway,
Yeah.
and working as effectively as possible together, again, for better project outcomes, and most importantly,
Yeah. There's a foreman from Alabama that I was at a construction site with him in Abilene, Texas, and he said, "Oscar, listen, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for these people. I wouldn't have a job, the job I have, wouldn't have the house I have, and if I'm here, it's because of them." And for me to hear that from a foreman, someone like him, I mean, it really, it was pure motivation for me to keep working on this technology, to keep developing, to say, we're really onto something to help all of these people and the companies, just to again, not just to be safer or more productive, but at the end of the day, it's a win-win for everybody.
Agreed. All right, Stacy, what kind of questions we have?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. I was at a job site tour at NAWIC maybe a couple months ago, and there was it was all women job site tour, but there was a huge group of Hispanic women who were in charge of the concrete, and same problem. We had to wait for an interpreter, and so that was just a little frustrating because we all wanted to talk to each other and answer questions, and so your app would have been great for that group. Me and you talked offline a little bit about excuse me, sorry, safety manuals and maybe like safety inspections and other documents where companies need, or even employment applications. I don't know where your app is with those kinds of things where you need everything in Spanish and in English so people can apply. Can you
Yes.
speak on that?
Absolutely. So right now, what we currently have right now, if you go to an ETC app right now, so we have something where there's a feature where you can go and ask any question related to safety to OSHA, right? So at how to use scaffolds, or at what point do I need to use a handrail, whatever question you want to ask, right? Now, what we're working on right now, it's a new technology where the answers will come directly from the safety manual, from the company, from that specific general contractor safety manual. So that one of the big problems that we have right now with the internet right now, or search engines or chat gpt, you name it, the problem right now is that the answers that you get, they're not vetted. They cannot tell you this is accurate, this is correct, this is actually what OSHA says, so this is what the company safety manual says about this. The problem that we're solving is we call this the classifier. So you will ask the question, and then it's going to go through the classifier, and it's going to take your question either to get it from the safety manual, or get to get the answer from the safety manual, to get the answer from, if it's just a general question, it can go directly to the internet. But it will come back and give you the answer, and it's going to be a verified answer. It's going to tell you that it comes from your program safety manual, right? So it's going to show you that. And the questions could be in any language, of course. But what we're working on, it's something really good for companies, because typically safety manuals are 400 to 500 pages, right? And then it contains all this super important information in case of an emergency, if you just want to learn more about OSHA, or even sometimes just want to learn the procedure of something that you're doing.
But it's more about those 500 pages are often more about protecting the company against legal action than they are against actually protecting the people. And it's not that information isn't available, but I think that's probably where you're headed.
Exactly. That's it. Exactly. And it's like, wouldn't it be awesome to give your workers access to all of that information that can make them safer, that can make them more knowledgeable about the work that they're doing. I'm gonna be speaking at Fresno, in Fresno, California on Thursday, and I said to myself, I should probably look and see what kind of accidents they have in Fresno, so I can kind of be more, speak with real examples from their community, and there it was, a ton of accidents. There was someone who was just recently had an accident with power lines. They were using a certain equipment, and it touched the power lines, and it's a lot of this. Again, it has to do with because of the lack of knowledge of, if I'm going to use this equipment, I need to pay attention to this, the power lines, to all these different things, all these different aspects. And, people, some of the construction workers of the Hispanic workforce, some of them, very few of them, have completed OSHA 10. Very few. And so with the Need to Say app, you would give them access to more than OSHA 10, more than OSHA 30 for some of those questions that they have daily. Daily questions that is like, I just don't know, like, if it's a measurement, if it's whatever. You can just ask the question and just be more, have a better answer, so that you can make better decisions day to day at work. So that's basically, what we're doing, what we're working on, with this new technology that we have in the app.
Nice. I think that's all I have, unless you have any more questions, Chad.
No, I'm just excited to see where things go with this technology. I sincerely hope that some of our audience reaches out to you to explore this further. I think the more opportunity you get to put it into practice, the more practical it will become. And I think what you're doing is it's a good thing for the industry overall, and a good thing for all those human beings that give their lives to the industry and give all their energy, to create a better environment for them, period, and for everyone. So, best of luck, Oscar. Please be in touch. Keep us posted on your progress. Hopefully, we'll have you back here in another year or so, and we'll hear some awesome things.
Thank you, Stacy, Chad. Thank you so much for having me. As you know, it takes a village to develop, to build something like this. I really appreciate your support. And again, we're really, we're passionate about this. And part of my passion comes from my dad. He was an immigrant, came to this country, spoke no English, and I saw firsthand how difficult it was for him to communicate, to keep his job because of misunderstandings, because of injuries, because of all kinds of different things. And I said to myself, at some point, I want to do something for for people like him, right? So it feels really good to do something like this, because it reminds me of him, of my dad. And I'm thinking, I'm sure that a lot of people will take the advantage and see the benefit in this. And my hope is that general contractors, companies in general, can see this and see it in a way that that at the end of the day, the benefit, it will be for them as a company. Because again, if you have workers are doing the right thing, you have workers that are informed, workers that communicate whatever aspects are, whatever is happening, you're just going to be a lot better in any project. Whatever you're doing is just going to be a lot better.
Well, when what you are doing is not just good for one group, but good for all groups, it should take off. So, all the best, Oscar. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
See ya. All right, Stacy, I'll keep this quick. Oh, there it was. I knew a cough was coming.
Trying so hard to hold it.
I knew. I could see. I was like, it's okay. I've been there. I'm sure be there again here, not in the not so distant future. So join us next week for the same time, at the same time, for episode 57. It is with my good friend Brett Harton, who's going to be on talking to us about developing future construction leaders. He's got a really cool personal story of his journey of coaches and mentors and maybe not so good leaders that he also got a chance to learn from along the way, and that helped to shape him. And we'll just be having a really interesting discussion that I think is relevant to everybody in the industry. How do we develop more leaders? And if you're an up and coming leader yourself, maybe some ideas and tips for ways that you can accelerate your growth and do so in a way that positions you for promotion.
Yeah.
And as always, email us to be added to our weekly mailing list. Reach out to Stacy H at steeltoecom.com. Stacy will get you set up, and our mailing list continues to expand with people who are just trying to stay in the loop and not have to search for that invite on LinkedIn if they want to join live. So, Stacy, anything else before we jump?
No, I think you covered it all. Thanks for covering this.
Doing a little more talking today to keep you
Yeah.
from yeah.
Hopefully next week I'm a little bit better.
Hey, it's what we do. We cover for each other, Stace. All right. Talk soon,
Great.
everybody. Have a great day.
Yeah, have a good one. See ya.